Stellar Blade did an awful lot right in its presentation, in its gameplay, in its overall design, so pretty much this video could be remade about quite a few things. In fact, there might be some I talk about in the future, but Stellar Blade is one of my favorite games in years. I love the characters, I love the world design, I love all of these different things, but one thing I think is truly masterfully done is the cosmetics. Now, no, it's not just because a lot of them are revealing, although let's be honest, that's also a plus. People like, they like sex appeal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, even though some people act like they're Catholic nuns and they're ashamed of their humanity. People like when things and people are pretty. There is nothing wrong with that. But Stellar Blade balances that with the need and understanding to have a wide variety, selection, and I would even say type of clothing items, and it does it for free. It embraces different styles, different elements of fashion, and it does it for free. And when I say for free, I mean you pay the price of the game on the box, you get the game, you get the cosmetics, you earn them in-game. Remember, we used to do that in video games before everything was, $5 a piece on some digital storefront that was constantly changing. You used to earn those things. And Stellar Blade did an amazing job of recreating that type of game. It's not the only one to do it, especially in the single-player space, but it's unfortunate that we're at a point where something that should be expected, we kind of have to celebrate, because it was taking the least greedy path possible. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this today. If you enjoy the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe for more content, I do appreciate that very much. There are some ways to support this channel if you're interested, which I will flash throughout this video. I do also want to make it clear that even though I love games like this, there are online or multiplayer games I really enjoy. I just don't like how far things have gone into nickel and diming players. But that said, I did have a question of the day for you today, which is, if I like Stellar Blade, me, as a fan of this game, is there another game that you, a fan of video games, would recommend to me to check out? I'm genuinely interested. I know Nier is up there, but even that one, people recommend different starting points. So let me know. Something I mentioned in a previous video, but I feel like needs to be brought up in this video, is the game director's thoughts on microtransactions when it came to this game and how it would affect this game. Now, a direct quote of Kim Hyung-tae before the game launched was, "We want to make it clear at this point that Stellar Blade will not require any additional expenses that gamers are not aware of beyond what they paid for the package." And also went on to say that the only exception is if we create collaboration costumes with another company's IP, those may be sold for a fee. And then went on to say, that there wasn't a New Game Plus in the launch of the game, but that they were going to add it in, which we know that they did already because this was from quite a while ago. Basically, I'm not going to pretend Stellar Blade is 100% perfect, that I have zero flaws with the game at all. I don't think anything is. If you really wanted a perfect full package at launch, I would have loved to have seen things like the photo mode at launch. I would have loved to have seen things like the actual New Game Plus on the disc at launch. Those are two things that I do wish happened. But when I'm looking at the statements from director Kim Hyung-tae, I can tell that this man deeply cares about the game that he made. I can tell that he deeply cares that players are actually getting a good product. And this game went on to sell very, very well, and they went on to lay out a roadmap with all kinds of stuff, including that photo mode and different things. And in a presentation, while talking about the game and more that was coming to the game, director Kim Hyung-tae also talked about how they wanted to create a good new IP rather than something to squeeze out extra profits, and that's why they avoided microtransaction, even though they knew that there was potential to sell those costumes. Now, here's the thing. Someone's going to wait until there's like a Nier crossover and they're going to say, "You said that we wouldn't be charged, but you did." I think that it's very fair that if you're working with another company's IP, as in you probably bought the license from it, because even though the director of a game, like if you went up to a director of a game, he might want you to put, a costume from his game or something based on his game in yours. He's probably not the one who owns that game, even if he and his team did pretty much all the work. Whoever funded them above them, the executives, which is sadly how this works, they're going to be the rights holders, right? Those companies. So it's not like you can just say, "Hey, yes, I made game X. Please put in the character costume from my girl in this." A lot of the times there are going to be licensing fees or negotiations or things like that that will take up time or money. So it makes complete sense to me that those things might have to be charged for. I'm sure that the prices would not be unreasonable, considering this is also a game that gave out tons of costumes for free and actually has gone on to give out even more. Most recently, when I'm recording this, I actually made a video about the summer update, how they added in a couple of swimsuits for Eve, definitely accentuated her body, did a lot of really cool stuff with that. They very clearly knew what people were wanting to see, and they delivered on it. And they added in a little timed summer area, along with some sunglasses, just some fishing challenges type stuff. I mean, it wasn't really fishing challenges added in, but you had to do fishing stuff to get these things, so they incentivized you doing more of the fishing mechanic, would be a better way to say that. So overall, I think that this game has done a very masterful job of actually delivering on these cosmetics in the same way that a lot of games that didn't charge at launch for cosmetics like Insomniac's Spider-Man did. Now later on, there was actually paid DLC, and for all we know, paid DLC could happen for Stellar Blade. But I don't actually think most gamers have a problem with that. What I think they have a problem with is being nickeled and dimed for tiny things, and then being basically told they're missing out if they're not willing to cough up their wallet in order to enjoy the game they already bought, right? It's also one thing if you're talking about a game that was free. Like, for example, I do have a collaboration code with Fortnite. I talk about that sometimes because when people use that, which I usually show once or twice in my videos, it actually helps me, because when you have a game like that Epic Games runs, the game was free, and then you can pay for additional costumes. To me, that's actually different, and people can choose to just not engage with that, right? Because it's a free game. Or they can just choose to never download that game. They didn't lose any money on it. For me, that's a different situation than when you have most of AAA games nickel and diming people, but also having you pay the entire retail price up front, then having you pay for all these additional things on top of it. So in terms of price structure, I think Stellar Blade did an amazing player-friendly job, and I think it's one of the reasons why they have such goodwill with the community, because people really do appreciate that. And I also want to mention that there was a whole snafu near the beginning of the life of this game, which I still can't tell if it was intentional censorship because of Sony's past, or if it really was just a decision to try and change the styles of certain things that they weren't happy with. But even when that whole thing happened, and there were games, there were suits that had been changed a little bit in the actual updates, they went back and released uncensored versions of them too, or the original versions of them too. So it's not like this is a company that's not willing to listen. It's definitely a company and a group of game developers at Shift Up who are willing to actually listen to what people want. I do think that this kind of stuff is really nice to see, and one last thing I wanted to mention about it is it's not just about the money. I've seen a lot of people, like I said before, who say things like, oh, this is just gooner bait. By the way, whenever I hear that word, I immediately discount whatever anyone says after it, because it's like, I know you're a closed-minded weirdo individual, and usually they're people who have some kind of weird projection where they don't want to see women, they don't want to see women's bodies, I think they're disgusting to them or something, or they're people who are trying to get laid, they're people who are trying to say the right thing to get laid in real life, like when a creepy guy walks up at the bar and starts talking about women's rights, unprovoked. It's like, we know what you're doing, buddy. So a lot of those people I just don't take seriously. You're just not going to convince them. But something I do like with this game is that at launch, it had a ton of costumes that were different varieties of style. Some showed more skin, some showed basically no skin, some were more like high fashion, where they showed almost no skin, some were skimpy. I like the fact that they actually went into this game with a design philosophy of trying to give you a, main character who, talks, is not a silent protagonist either, even though those can be good, actually interacts with the world around her, but then you can customize that same character. You can change her hair, you can change her hair color, you can change her abilities, you can change the play style that you play with, you can change her costumes. If you want your Eve to be a little more revealing and run around with the skin suit and basically be playing a challenge mode, you can do that. If you want your version of Eve to be running around with almost like a high society covered up outfit with just full on pants on all the way down to her ankles, you can do that. If you now want Eve to be running around as a very, beautiful, bodacious, beach-bodied lady with her new summer update swimsuits, you can do that. They gave a lot of opportunities and control to players and packed this game with content, not only with side quests, main quests, secrets, all kinds of stuff like that, dialogue that you can miss out on if you're not, walking around talking to people and exploring the world, but also with a variety of costumes at launch that were included with the price of the game. And not only that, but they also did a variety of styles, and they went on to add in a bunch of free things like costumes, sunglasses, etc. I really respect what Kim Hyung-tae has been doing. I really respect Shift Up. I know a lot of people are worried about the future of Shift Up. They're worried about them going woke. They're worried about them. That's just the best way I can say it, because that's what I've seen the criticisms in the comments being since they became a publicly traded company. For me, I've seen a lot of publicly traded companies that really never go the direction of being overly preachy or of backing out on what made them good. I think people are traumatized by the fact that most do, but so far with the track record of this company and the track record of this man at the top, Kim Hyung-tae, who I believe is still the majority shareholder in his own company, which means he calls the shots in that company, unless he gives that up to sell his shares or something in the future. I have faith in that because of what they've delivered so far. I think this game is excellent. It's up there for me with games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in terms of just being a complete, really great game that valued player time, player money, player input, and wanted to deliver the best possible package possible. Best possible package possible. Losing my mind over here. 2 players at launch, and I truly do appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments down below. That actually helps me out a lot. Like I said before, there are various ways to help support my channel. I actually do have other channels as well. A lot of people actually find my content through this channel. This channel is smaller than some of my other channels. Like I have Degenerate J, where I make all kinds of videos on superheroes. I do Metal Gear Solid over there, James Bond, just a variety of stuff. It's kind of a variety channel. I also do have a channel which is Degenerate Plays, where I play through games with my friends, my wife. Actually, we're playing through Stellar Blade right now. I think we uploaded like part 38 or something like that very recently, so we've been playing through that and Assassin's Creed 1 over there. Also, we do have our own store, cosmobunny.shop, where we actually sell recycled, repurposed goods. And I should clarify on that, what I mean is we sell resin pieces, which are coasters, keychains, trays, and more, that are made from the remains of books that were damaged. So these are made from comic book paper, manga paper, magazine paper, things like that are ending up in landfills where we live in America. We take those things before they can get there, we cut them up, we turn them into something transformative. Sometimes it's like a collage type thing, sometimes it's just more of like a transformative resin piece, and we actually reintroduce that to the world. So that was kind of supposed to be the point of transformative art, is taking something that is not really usable anymore and turning it into something new. That's what we try and do. We do have a discount code, which is DJAY123. You get 10% off your first purchase. I digress. It's a great store. We appreciate you very much, and I appreciate Stellar Blade for being one of the best games I've played in years. I don't care what people call me for liking it. I don't care what people call the game. They're missing out. It's a fun game. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.